Hey, it's episode 2, and we've gone from the 2 amigos to the 3 amigos. Hello, Stinger. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, sir. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. And Tony is back in the chair, right in the middle between me and Stinger. So, how's your save coming along, Tony? Have you left Serie A or you're in Serie A B?
I left Serie A, yeah. We're into Serie B, and I know I said 2 weeks ago that we're going to work on getting promoted. I've barely even finished the season, so where I am is not bottom. That's the key bit, right? I'm expected to finish bottom. I'm currently 13th. I'm about 9 points off the relegation zones. I am past halfway into the season. I'm happy with that. I'm happy. We started fairly slow, a couple of sort of results not going brilliantly. Then went on what I like to refer to as a 5-game tear up, where we won 2-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and just hitting on the break. Defensively solid, loved it. Then the wheels fell off again. So we're back into this sort of sea of letting goals in and lack of confidence. But at one point we were third. So there is potential in there. And we also got linked with the Pisa job, but we never took it because they never offered it to us. Not that we would take it anyway. But anyway, we're here. We're fine. It's okay.
It's not bad. I mean, I had, when I was in Serie A B, I got off to a good start. Then after that, I fell into a hole. And then I was stuck near the bottom of the table. So it's, Serie A B is so difficult. I mean, what do you think, Stinger? What do you think of the formation he's using?
This is interesting. We just talked about it, and he's going full on Italian old school here. Yeah. I think there's things he can change, which we've talked about. Maybe gets his wing backs a little bit higher, but for a first season to try and survive, it'll do that for him. I think Tony should be a bit braver though. I think you can push them wing backs on, and you can tear up this league. But depends how good your wing backs are, right?
Yeah, they're not bad actually. They're not bad. They're both on loan because obviously we mentioned in the last episode was just trying to abuse the loan system. Don't pay for players if you don't have to. First season, I remember speaking to Stinger. You were saying try and blow teams out the water in Serie A. So we played this formation, which was a sort of 4-3-3, really.
Yeah.
And that was great. We loads of goals, got us up there and thereabouts. So that was working really nicely. Plan, of course, in Serie B, don't lose. That's where I'm going. So yeah, I would go for defensively solid. You're right. We probably can get a little bit more movement out of our wing backs. I've got them set to overlap, so I suppose take those off, get them working a bit more advanced anyway.
Why don't you just put them on attack duty, and then instead of asking them to overlap, because when you tell them to overlap, you're just affecting the initial positioning, which you can do with an attack duty anyway, and then they'll be more aggressive.
That's a good point.
Boom.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of tactical naivety, I think, possibly on my behalf there, but. Regroup as well. We spoke a little bit. I like to regroup. Really enjoying regroup at the minute rather than chasing the ball down. So that's a new thing. Get everyone behind the ball, and then these attacking midfielders, they do naturally drift wide. And I had Bianchimano as an advanced forward, but he would also move. So yeah, there was a bit of a suggestion: move into a poacher, maybe a target man. He is 6'5". He likes scoring goals. He's got 6 in 18 so far. So. Yeah, we need to get the ball to him as much as possible, really.
I was very aggressive when I wanted to get promoted. I was like playing with 4-2-2-2 or a 4-3-1-2. At times I had 4-3-3s. And one time I had a 4-2-4. I mean, it was like, see a big man in front, send the ball to him. Why bother dribbling? We can't dribble anyway. Who are we pretending to be?
I've got my idealistic Italian philosophy going on at the minute. Next year we'll just chuck it out and I'll be like, right, long ball from the back, long ball, no midfielders. It's just going to be launch it.
I was brought up in Wimbledon. I was brought up in a Wimbledon culture. So okay, please, simplicity is dump it on a head. What about I think Stinger, you've got a fairly interesting system yourself.
Yeah, the current one, the one that's done the business for me in where we are, Serie A, is this bad boy. So we've got an asymmetric one going on. I had versions of this to get me up from Serie B, so I don't know if that's something Tony wants to think about when he gets better players in. But this is all movement, and if you look at the analysis tab, every area of the pitch is pretty much covered, but it's catering to my strengths, which is the wing backs. You can see a little legend there at left wing back in DiMarco, which is my Galactico. So playing to the strengths, that one Maybe we'll get into it later, but that's the one that did the business in Serie A. Eventually, may I add, 12 seasons in, that's the one that did the business.
Hey, hang on a minute. This looks familiar. Haven't you used this on me in draft mode?
Probably. I probably tried everything in draft mode to try and get a dub, which doesn't usually win. You know as well as I do, the best formations in single player will not transfer to draft, unfortunately.
Yeah, you try. I'll be very honest. If I'm playing against a computer, I'm fine. Yeah.
Yep.
When I'm playing draft mode, I'm playing against another person.
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes logic goes out of the window, and then
Absolutely.
Yeah, the tactics are so different. I mean, here I'm looking at your tactic. First up, when I'm looking at it, before that you had this. You were showing the positions, right? How good they were at each positions in one of your icons. How they were suitable for position. I get asked this question a lot by a lot of people. What does this actually mean?
Yeah. Not a lot. If you ask me, I'd like, for example, I've got a guy here at inverted wing back, and he is a defensive fullback.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have no qualms at all popping this lad in here, which is this guy Coxall Accent. And if I click on him, he could comfortably do that role as defensive midfielder. But he's got all the things I'd need from an inverted wing back. He can pass the ball. He's got good vision, and he could pop into that zone there. Because most of the time, that inverted wing back, as we get him on, go back to there. That inverted wing back will spend most of his time in there anyway. And if he's on an attack duty, he's going to be further up. So to get passing and vision, he's going to be more important, arguably, than defensive roles anyway. So you can abuse that role.
I've had a lot of success in that role, the inverted wing back on attack, particularly on a right-sided inverted wing back on attack with a left midfielder.
Yeah.
In Norway, I've played a winger in there, and he's been brilliant, so good in there. Like I love it. I love that sort of that, as I say, that movement where they go from sort of starting position down here and then all the way up to the top, causing havoc. Brilliant.
But I can't really say things. I can't say too much, but I was on a chat once and we were talking about these new roles that we were gonna SI were gonna release, and while we were discussing the movement of the roles, they kind of suggested that there are certain things that we should try by swapping these inverted wingbacks. A left-sided inverted wingback playing on the right and a right-sided inverted wingback playing on the left, because you're going to get more unique movements, because they are going to be cutting inside anyway, right? So they're going to move inside, and then when a left-sided player with a left foot moves into the right, then he has bigger area to cover. So he can pass to the left and he can pass to the right. So a player with a right foot would also be suitable in that position. So it was a pretty interesting thing to drop. How SI drops these nuggets, but they don't give you a lot of clarity. They seem to do this mysterious messages. They got like a line and you're supposed to go, okay, let's decipher what this means.
Yeah. One draft mode, I actually put Leroy Sané there, put it that way. And on attack, he was just ripping it up. He offered absolutely nothing in defense, but coming from that angle, from there, driving in, he was crazy.
Goofy Jot,
there's options.
I was playing draft mode with Goofy Jot, and he was playing, I think, a 4-1-3-2, if I'm not mistaken. I can't really remember. But when he drafted for a very, very fast player that was really good at dribbling and not particularly great at crossing, but he was good at passing. So all he did was he just rammed up the pitch right through players just to get a ball through, and I couldn't even catch that player. So yeah,
I use something quite similar in draft mode as well. I like to have a wing back who just runs, gets as close to that byline as quick as he possibly can, and then the winger just gets out of the way and cuts inside. And so it goes, right, I've got cut inside trait. He goes inside, and the winger's just bombing straight forward. So sometimes it's just about ignoring the role and going what you want for movement, isn't it?
If you're using an inverted wing back, you don't need him to cross the ball because he's hardly ever going to do that. Mm-hmm. He's going to cut back inside and look for the pass all the time. So you can. There's a lot of talk about new gen regens, fullbacks not having crossing ability. If you're using inverted wing backs, you don't need it because they'll pass it more.
So okay, I want to ask you all another question. What is the funniest thing that's happened to you on FM22 so far?
Goalkeepers.
I had one crazy request by the board. Right. So I was a newly promoted side. I'm moving from Serie A C to Serie A B. I'm in Serie A B right now. And then my first season in Serie A B, I'm excited. We're going to escape relegation. My board comes up to me and tells me, we want you to play attacking football. We want you to play entertaining football. We want you to, high pressing game. And we also make sure too that you mostly use under 23 players in your squad.
Yeah.
That was the most bizarre thing a board can ever tell a newly promoted team to do. Like, as in, we want you to go out there and believe you're AC Milan.
But you can't have any experienced players.
Yes, exactly. It was just bizarre. So what about you guys?
Well, one sticks out for me. I was in my first season in Serie A, and we were battling relegation. It didn't end pretty, and this is why, because my central midfielder, in fact, funnily enough, it was my inverted wing back that we just talked about. And the decisive game scored an own goal from the halfway line. So
I saw that on the stream. It was amazing.
I think you were, yeah. I didn't know how to compute what had just happened. He dribbled up halfway through the pitch, looking good. Decided, no, I'm not going to play a through ball to my striker who's completely unmarked. I'm going to pivot and hoof it back to my keeper, who's actually just chilling out somewhere outside the box, straight over in, lose the game 2-1, and that is us relegated back to Serie B.
Oh no!
I don't think I can beat that.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm not going to suggest that he had money on that game, but I think he definitely had money on that game.
It still hurts. It's still on my Twitter feed somewhere, so we can see it. We can find it somewhere, but it hurts.
Tony, anything? I mean, you
goalkeepers, really. I'm having a bit of a mare with goalkeepers at the minute. It's not necessarily as bad in this save, but my keepers do like a bit of a wander. Even though I'm playing them on defensive duty, I've not got them on sweeper keeper. I've not got them on sweeper keeper on support or attack. Yeah. They just are partial to a bit of daydreaming, and they like to sort of run out for a ball that they've got really they should be able to just run out and boot it, rather than running out and going, I'm just going to watch that go past me.
Oh, that watching the ball go past the goalkeeper, hey, that's happening a hell of a lot. It's not just in Serie A B. I've seen in draft posts almost, like yesterday during the, we just had the FM playoff qualifications, and I was watching one game, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, I can't remember. I think it was one of the games Mazza was playing, but it wasn't his team, it was the opponent's team. And the goalkeeper just stood there as the ball went past him, and the defender just stood there as the ball went through on to goal. And like, nobody did anything. It was like, hey, welcome to my goal.
It's one of those things we pick up now because of the 3D highlights. You guys are old enough to remember when it was just 2D. You wouldn't bat an eyelid. You wouldn't see these things happening, because it's the 3D highlights now. Things that look a bit weird like that. You're like, hang on a minute, what's going on there?
You'd never get that with just text, would you? You'd never know. You'd never know.
Championship manager.
That's why. Exactly. That's why the older players like us, we chalk it off. I mean, we just go like, it's like that. You know what I mean? What can we do, right?
Until the 3D graphics are ramped up, it's going to happen, isn't it? We just got to accept it's going to happen.
All right. So another question. Okay. So now Wales, we're going to go to the World Cup now. Wales, England, Iran, USA. What do you think of Wales making it to the World Cup?
Tony?
I mean, it's great for Wales. It's absolutely awesome for them. There's a generation of people who've never seen Wales in a major tournament. So huge congratulations to them. Obviously, from my own personal perspective, huge congratulations for Scotland, who chose to morally object to the World Cup. So I think overall, we're the real winners here.
Okay, speaking of moral objections, we've got an England team who has decided to play like, you're heading for a draft competition. You don't want people to see your tactics in all these friendly matches. So you decide to throw people off by playing some unexpected tactical combinations. And you send them out and you want everybody to go, hey, he's playing this tactic in the FM Streamer Showdown. Okay, this is what he's doing. But in reality, you just want to throw them a curveball. What do you think Southgate is doing with England at the moment? Hey, look at
I hope he's doing what you said, and he's got a great tactic in mind for actually matches that matter. But I'm not confident that's the case. I'm not confident. That game against Hungary was miserable. It was miserable. But looking at the bigger picture, maybe he was planning for the Germany game, which obviously we expect to be under the cosh a bit. But again, last night we got the draw, but my life, it was miserable to watch. And he's setting up for tournaments. I understand that. And rarely do you get a team that's super fluid that wins tournaments. But I just don't think we play to our strengths. And our strengths are, in my opinion, the attacking quartet that he could potentially use. But it just seems to be stifling them a little bit too much. So
I think he's a victim of his own success, really. Like, I guess, you know, even objectively, you know, looking at it, going, he's got to a final, he's got to a semi-final. He hasn't really. They've had the rub of the green. They've not had the most difficult routes to either of those finals, but you can only beat what's put in front of you. Yes, he's pragmatic. So yes, that is quite sensible in tournament football. Don't go gung ho. And now I think it's because the expectation is to go, all right, that's happened. They've got to a semi, they've got to a final. Therefore, the expectation is another one. Fine, but look at what's got you there. Don't change the system completely and go, right, you've got there defensively. Now what you do is put 8 forwards on. It's not going to work. Like, I think people are looking at it going, oh, is that actually how we got to a final? Like, all right. And even then there was a bit of discontent getting towards a final with, oh, wouldn't it be good if they pushed on a bit more? But what do you want? Do you want a trophy or do you want entertaining football? Sometimes you can't have both.
I think that
what do you?
For me, when I was looking at England, I mean, okay, the last World Cup, the last time I saw England play was in the Euros, right? So I thought they had a rather fortunate run to the latter stages of the competition. But even then, I wasn't convinced. And I remembered another major competition, most of their goals were scored from set pieces. I didn't see a lot of open play, carving up the opponents. You know, you've got all these attacking players on the pitch, right? But I don't see you actually threatening them by carving them open, like how Spain does it or how Germany do it. Even, you know, sometimes when Italy are when they have their A game, they can do it. I mean, Italy has not had an A game for a while, but I don't see England doing that. So for me, I think that if you want to experiment, fine. But why don't you experiment with new players? Because if you're going to experiment with tactics or experiment with players, then why is Harry Maguire still playing? So
he looked awful last night.
You've got some great players playing out in Italy at the minute, like Tomori should be, and again, this is not as an England fan, Tomori should be one of the first names on the team sheet right now at centre half. You know, try him out. Like, for me, he's one of the first names I go for on draft mode these days. He's quick, he's big, he's strong. He's played pretty much every minute for Milan, who won the title, and they love him. Tammy Abraham doing exactly the same, tearing it up for Roma. Did great when he was in the Premier League and the Championship in England anyway. These are your players you need to be looking at, rather than, okay, Harry Maguire again.
That's what you said there is an inherent problem with England. They just, and the English media to some extent, they'll just dismiss other leagues and they're convinced that the Premier League is the ultimate. For example, Haaland's coming over and you still have people saying, will he score as many as the Bundesliga? I mean, the Bundesliga's got some great defenders in it. There's no way that he's going to have a trouble against, no disrespect, the likes of if Burnley's defence or West Ham's defence, he's going to rip it up. But there's an inherent blinkers view from the English media and in some cases management and pundits where other leagues don't matter. It's the same over here. So you got Abraham ripping it up over there. I'd question how often he gets watched by the England team, the England coaching staff, because if he's scoring goals at that level against some of the defences in Italy, there's no way he can't do it against someone like Hungary if he's got the right system around him. So that's an inherent flaw in it. It's always been there.
And again, playing for a defensive-minded manager as well. I mean, Mourinho's not known for gung-ho tactics, is he?
Exactly.
I think for players like Tomori and for players like Tammy Abraham, who are now getting exposed right, to Italian defenders, Italian styles of play. I would think having them in the England setup would be an asset to the England team, because then you'd have players familiar with some of the Italian players that they've never played against. I mean, how many times are you going to be playing against Virgil van Dijk? You already played against him forever, right? But some of the other Italian defenders, we don't see them in the Premier League. So I think it's a bit of it's been England's problem for a while though. Yeah. One of the reasons why we don't see the best of England is because we don't see England consistently look at some of the talent that they have outside the country.
We are inherently a conservative nation in all sorts of things, and that transmits to tactics. It transmits to tactics, and it always has done. You can still have an element of safety in an attacking, aggressive system. You can still have, which Klopp's done at times, which even Guardiola's done occasionally. You can still have a double pivot and then unleash 4 or 5 other players to do what they want, maintaining a solid base. But we always go safety first. It's a national culture for some reason. And I guess it opens up the argument for a different style of manager. But to be fair, I don't see in the immediate who could do a better job. I think he's doing fine. But it'd just be nice to see him unleash a few shackles. But the team kind of reflects the manager in what he was as a player. He was a safe player. He was a centre-back, occasionally a defensive midfielder. But it's all safe. Sometimes I feel like English managers are scared to lose rather than looking to win. So,
but then again, you look at when Kevin Keegan was in charge.
Yeah,
cavalier, but again, didn't really amount to anything.
That's it. You don't have a lot of time to work with him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a generation of players. You need a generation of players to come up growing with an attacking, aggressive attitude, rather than a generation of players growing, going, oh yeah, I can get forward a little bit, but I still have to be defensive. Like, as good as an attacking as someone like a Trent Alexander-Arnold is, or Saka or Smith Rowe, like the players of the future, they're still probably drilled in, going, yeah, get forward, but you have to drop back as well, mind. Like forward as well, like so going.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get Man City's team if you don't work.
Okay. Yeah, but you look abroad and you go, these players probably would be encouraged to just get forward, like Gavi, in Spain. You sort of go, has he been told to track back? Probably not.
What about, so in that group, right, which England are in, where do you see them finishing? For just that group?
I think it's tougher than people think. I think it's tougher than people think, LJ. I think I can't believe it hasn't been talked about more, but the conditions are not going to suit, obviously. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on America, US. I think they're going to be difficult. And I think Wales v England, look, England should have the better team in that, but it's going to be a goal max either way on that one. So it's trickier than it looks, I think. I think it'll be one of those groups where there's a lot of draws. Look, they should get through, but I would not sleep on the US at all.
Yeah, it feels like the Euros. It feels like that Wales-England game is going to be the Wales-Scotland game. It's going to be the Scotland-England game, sorry. 0-0. That's going to be the one where ultimately it's going to be all the criticism will be levelled. Wales are going there to have fun with no expectation. America always have an expectation on themselves. England have a huge expectation on themselves. Iran could throw a spanner in the works as well. You're right. It's not the foregone conclusion the English media are already banging the drum for.
Definitely not.
For me, I look at the situation and I'm thinking to myself that England have to be very careful of the US, because the US are actually coming in stronger than they were in the last World Cup. Then Iran are playing in conditions that suit them. They are in the Middle East. They know what it's like to play in that kind of temperature. And more importantly, when they are playing there, the diet every day is the same thing they've been eating all this time. And people always forget about things like diet as well, because that is a Muslim country. You're not going to find ham, steak, pork, and all the other meat there. I mean, it might seem like a small thing, but there are certain things that people are used to.
That's huge.
And it might throw them off their game plan. And the other thing I find that England has been drawing too many games in big tournaments. They don't go out there. They haven't ripped. Okay, I have not seen England rip past opposition since, when was the last time I saw England play beautifully? 82?
Well, 90, this is the thing. 90. The problem England are going to have here is they're so set up now, if rightly or wrongly the way he's playing, They're set up for that now. In that group, they're expected to take the game to all three of those teams. They're just going to have to flick the switch. So are they set up for that? I haven't seen them preparing for that. The Hungary game would have been perfect for that. Take the game to Hungary, but instead we played 3-5 at the back. So they're going to have to dominate teams. He likes to play the counter-attacking style, but in that group, he's not going to be able to. So he needs a plan B, and that plan B has to be plan A in that group, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
You've also got to consider as well that the World Cup's going to be played not at the end of the season. This is going to be mid-season for the European leagues. Those players are going to be in a position where they're not necessarily running at the top of their peak, I guess. You know, they're not at the end of the season when they're all knackered and limping. But again, you're going to see players in a different condition, and then you're going to chuck in the heat and the time difference. So that's going to be interesting to see how that affects the players as well.
Okay. Speaking of expectations, we have the FM playoffs happening this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, will you guys be watching the FM playoffs?
Well, I'm in it.
Yes, Mr. Brightsmead. I was just about to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Where do you think you'll finish this time, Mr. Brightsmead? Because at least you have been a bridesmaid. That means you've been at the altar. Okay, I have hardly ever gotten close to the altar. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was in the last time I was in it. I was in the final and I lost, which is a kind of recurring theme. I've had 2 finals in the playoffs and lost, and a couple of semi-finals. This time, I'm bringing a tactic that's never been used in the playoffs before. That's a little snippet for you. Whether I'll start with it, I don't know. I'm going to have one pretty bland, safe tactic, and I've got 2 which are going to be like, whoa, what is going on here? If you get through the groups, and this goes for you as well, Dalji, if you get through the groups, you've got a chance. You've just got to get through that group stage. So we'll see. I'm not going to make any predictions because last time I did it, I got egg on my face.
okay.
You know, I've got your back, Stinger. You know I always call you out and go, right, this is my man. I'm putting my money on him. Like, you'll do it. You'll do it. I will learn. But, you know, at the same time, I'm putting my name to you because I've never even been invited to the evening do, never mind getting to the altar. So, but I'll be play by play. So I'll be calling like I say it. I'm very, very excited to see this new tactic as well. So
we're all
should be a
involved.
good competition.
So, Dalji, how do you see yourself going this time?
Look, I just want to try my best to perform better than the last time, which is make sure that I have a chance of. I want to just get out of the group. That's all. Yeah, because to be honest with you, this format was created by a psychopath.
What do you mean?
England.
Oh, the draft format. Oh, we already spoke about that.
The pool
is
is
really hard.
Absolute madness.
No, like the pool's good, right? If it was a normal draft, no problem. But and I don't know if you've mentioned this already, but it's top of my head. England, France, Italy, Brazil. 5 picks from each in a row, which again doesn't sound too bad. But then you've got to think. Well, I spoke to Dalji about this yesterday. If you've got I want Ciro Immobile as my striker, but Italy is the last clutch of teams to pick from, and you've saved that striker pick for the Italian pick. Then we get to the Italian pick. Bang! Someone takes Immobile. What do you do? You've got to find an Italian striker, not any of the others. He's got to be Italian to fill your gap. This is the toughest draft pool I've been in.
Yep.
And you're budgeting as well. If you end up having to, you may be overspend in another position, then you're going into, as you say, you get to that final bit and you're going, all right, I'm now, who's my budget picks now? This is, it's
on the flip side of that, Tony, what if you've kept 60 million for Immobile and he's gone? Then you have 60 million, but there's no one to spend it on. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I know. That happens to me quite a lot. So I can speak from experience.
My head's bursting at the thought of it. This is the one I'm worried about. This is tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Okay, so on that note, guys, I think we should wrap this up. And can you let everybody know where they can find you? I mean, how do they reach you? Should they watch you? It's a time to plug yourselves, your shows, and what are you doing right now?
Being at YouTube and on Twitch. That's about it, really. Content is flowing out constantly. A little bit slower now. It's near the end of FM22, but there's always 2-3 videos a week. So yeah, staying on YouTube is the best place to find me.
Tony Jameson on Twitch and Tony Jameson on Twitter. Tony Jameson FM on Twitch and Tony Jameson on Twitter, and Football Manager Therapy Podcast, which is available on all of your good and bad podcast platforms and YouTube as well now.
And of course,
Sure.
me, YouTube or Twitch. And I want to thank Tony and Stinger for joining us today. I had a fantastic time. And on a future episode of this, we will be we'll be talking a bit more about another style of or another format for Football Manager, which is versus mode. And then we will talk about the format, and then we'll probably play a couple of games. But Tony, right now, he's got some places to be. Stinger, he's got some places to be. I have some places to be. I hope you guys stay safe, stay healthy. We'll catch you again soon. Bye-bye.